Good morning, everyone. I'm Tanushri Verma, working as a manager, collaborative advocacy for Sphere India. And today we are here to discuss on food and nutrition issues of state of Sikkim. And we have very good panelists from WFP and then state disaster management authority, state IAG, health department of Sikkim also to discuss and give their views on the issue of food and nutrition security. So before that, I just want to give some brief about Sphere India. Sphere India is a national coalition of humanitarian agency in India with membership of 72 organizations, including key nodal organizations from UN, INGOs, NGOs network, and national NGOs, CSR, academic institute. And we also have 28 state level interagency groups. So during the pandemic of COVID-19, which is still, we are in the really for recovery mode of the pandemic, and the second strain also came in some of the state. We have been observing that. So in the whole process since last 1 year, Sphere India has been actively mobilizing agency across India to contribute to the COVID-19 preparedness. And Sphere India organize many academic session on various state through state disaster management authority, through ATIs, on the awareness and preparedness of COVID-19. And currently we are also giving sessions on specific to vaccine rollout. So COVID-19 pandemic have spread rapidly and also poses a lot of challenges for food and nutrition security of the people. Largely, we have noticed that the migrant people, people who have lost their livelihood, they faced a lot of issues. Nutrition is, a very far target. Even the basic food requirement where we could see that was the challenge, access to basic food. So with this note, I feel if Rubal, you can run the slide on the screen so that I can just provide the international scenario of food and nutrition security and disaster risk reduction.
Please give me a minute, Tanushree.
So if we'll see the food and nutrition sector largely, so if we try to see the Indian scenario, like 195 million people are undernourished in India, and National Family Health Survey 5 also indicated largely on the three area for food and nutrition security. Those categories were food and nutrition, livelihood, and livestock. So these three areas are actually run as a vicious cycle. If we have livestock, we have livelihood, and if we have livelihood, we will be able to ensure food and nutrition. So even if they need to complement and supplement each other, these three sectors. So National Food Security Act 2013 also is in place, which talk about nutrition security for 75% rural population and 50% urban household. We have a very good public distribution system and integrated child development services and Poshan Abhiyan in India, through which government of India trying to ensure food and nutrition security to the communities. Further, if we'll bifurcate this three sector, these three areas of food and nutrition. We have food security, infant and child nutrition, women nutrition, adolescent and adult nutrition, elderly nutrition, agriculture, non-agriculture livelihood, farm livestock, and poultry livestock. We also try to identify who are the basically the key players of food and nutrition in India. In that process, we could find out that there is a hierarchy of structure in the government of India, which start from union, state, district, and which end at Panchayati Raj. We have disaster management authorities also, which have a structure of NDMA, SDMA, District Disaster Management Authority, and local level authority. Then we have donor and aid organization, NGOs, autonomous organization, private sector, professional organization, research institute also come up with the varied kind of alternate solutions and studies to contribute to the field of food and nutrition. Community, civil society organization, and human resource certainly play an important role, especially in disaster scenario, post-disaster scenario, for ensuring food and nutrition security of the affected population. Slide 3, please. Rubal, next slide, please. There is one sustainable development goal two. We had 17 goals, in fact, and sustainable development goal two talk about zero hunger and ensuring achieving food security and improve nutrition and promote sustainable agriculture. In this goal, largely we can connect food and nutrition security, but we also tried to connect it to like other goals, like how food and nutrition is connected to no poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, quality education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation. And we could find out that almost all the goals are somewhere connected to food and nutrition processes. If we like if people are enough and their purchasing power is good enough to have food and proper food, then we can ensure food and nutrition. Similarly, quality education is connected. Certainly, malnourished affect our learning ability. All the goals of sustainable development goals are somewhere connected, and this slide indicate about that. Next, please. For current status of food and nutrition, there is a target till 2030 to lift at least 48,370 people out of hunger every day. And but This is really very challenging target, because we have noticed that only in 2006 to 8 we could lifted 41,644 people out of hunger every day. And now there is a slowdown since 2015 and 17. We have noticed only 10,000 people we are able to contribute to the process of uplifting from the hunger. Similarly, if we'll see that women who are in the reproductive age, we try to categorize them for all women, pregnant women, and non. I mean, three categories are there. It has been noticed that body mass index is below 18 kg for half of the a quarter of the women of the reproductive age, and nearly 50% women aged between 15 to 49 years are anemic, and the affected infant though lack of calcium, iron, food supplement from mother. So similarly for adolescent also, we try to do some basic survey, and results are indicated on the screen. As per the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, only 59% 54% babies have the breastfeed being so that is one of the important aspect of infant nutrition. Gaps we have noticed everywhere, like for the adolescent, for the women, lactating mother, infant. These are really a very challenging scenario. Next slide, please. Rubal, can we go to the next slide, please? Since the whole discussion is on food and nutrition security and disaster risk reduction, We try to connect it with the like emergency, that how livestock livelihood get affected in emergencies, and how it is creating issues for having access to basic food or nutrition. The gaps which we identify, that largely after the disaster, we does government does get activate and provide the basic relief intervention in terms of food and health relief or something like that, generally get activated after disaster. But somewhere there is a gap of ensuring or protecting the livelihood, which is certainly contribute to the process of sustainable access to food and nutrition. So livelihood promotion, sustaining the livelihood, and providing alternate solution in terms of livelihood. If like crops are like in largely in Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, we have, and Assam also, crops washed away by the flooding, which is a recurring hazard in these states. So what are the alternate arrangement to ensure nutrition, food, and the livelihood? So certainly, government does give relief material in terms of immediate relief to the affected community, but long-term sustainable livelihood issues still remain a challenge. And that's certainly connected to the livestock also, because livestock certainly support a lot in ensuring livelihood. So we try to assess the impact of emergency on food, nutrition, livelihood, and livestock. Some direct and indirect impact are indicated on the screen. Direct impact on livelihood is the destruction of crop or loss of property, and indirect impact is the economic slowdown. And when there will be economic slowdown, obviously the purchasing power will also get reduced, and it will affect the food and nutrition of the family, especially the mother, the adolescent girl of the family. So those are the worst affected. Even within the family as a unit, those are the worst affected class. Next slide. Sector target is to end hunger by 2030, and in the same year we have these SDG goals also getting over. So sector target is to end hunger, achieve at least 2 point, reducing the stunting rate of the population by 2.5, bring down the rate of anemia in the pregnant women uh, to 25.15, and also there is a target for underweight children. So these are the target for 2030, and we also try to see that how national disaster management plan talk about the food and nutrition security. So national DM plan 2019 does talk about social inclusion of women, children. There is a separate chapter on that social inclusion and mainstreaming, but there is gap in terms of adequate attention to food and nutrition sector, which has not been addressed. It's largely addressed in terms of the relief material distribution. So what is the long term impact of any disaster on food and nutrition access? That is the gap, and it has not been addressed in the National DM Plan 2019 also. Scope is that we can certainly advocate for inclusion of food and nutrition sector, livelihood, livestock, impact of various disaster on that, and how to mitigate that impact. So there's a scope of advocacy on that. So major gaps largely is the lack of adequate infrastructure in food distribution to cater all population during crisis, lack of resilient food distribution network to reach more people every day, lack of trained workforce for supporting women and infants during pregnancy, high poverty further affect affordability, especially to meet the deficiencies, burden to pay loan and economic downslope, lack of sanitation and clean water and shelter, increase nutritional vulnerability. Challenges due to disaster could be like dispersal of harmful agent into food, increased nutrition deficiency in children, and poor newborn care of infant, lack of adequate nutrition to pregnant and lactating mother, reduced of nourishment for the adolescent and adult, falling agriculture production, and higher level of wildlife mortality, reduction in income of the farmer, default on agriculture loan, and reduce opportunity of employment for daily wage workers. So these challenges we often face after any disaster, and especially we have noticed this in the current pandemic of COVID-19 also. Next slide. So we try to further bifurcate that how this sector is affecting resilience, emergency preparedness to response and recovery. So for resilience, we find out that we need to expand reach of social protection scheme so as to build resilience in the society, and production of food item at local level to cope up with the changes or delay. uh, and there could be one, I mean, many other strategy like promoting community based monitoring model for malnourishment, improve access to food and nutrition through inclusive policy framework, resilient livelihood and development of better healthcare services for livestock, advocating for skill development and employment, facilitating access to local skill and job opportunity. So these processes have initiated in bits somewhere, but that these processes need to be mainstream for creating community resilience. Similarly, emergency preparedness to response, we need to have awareness and capacity building, availability of ready to eat meal and pre-positioning of the resources, contingency fund and resource pool, and minimum standard to ensure food and nutrition. So, and for response and recovery, enhancing the local capacity for robust assessment, and real-time tracking to identify pocket of the present and future at risk, undernourished or anemic population or vulnerable group. That assessment we can do. Database on impact and need of disaster affected people based on nutrition status, age, mortality, disability, and gender. Restoring livelihood post disaster, capacity building of ASA workers, Ananwari workers, with response and recovery action in support of ICD's department, implementation of measures of CFM and grievance redressal pertaining to disaster relief, reconstruction, and rehabilitation. So these measures certainly help us. The CFM tool help us in planning for the future. So so these activities we done during the recovery processes so as to plan better for the future or future disaster scenario. Next. So these are the point of resilience where we need to do the advocacy, and many points are there to advocate for. I'll not go to the each and every points, but largely I have mentioned that the national DM plan itself do not have food and nutrition sector specific provisions in terms of how it is impacting each and every I mean vulnerable section like women, children, and we certainly need to advocate for that. Similarly, advocacy needed in terms of various schemes which are being implemented by the government, that it should reach out to those vulnerable sections which need them. Like we had many discussion on food and nutrition sector, and I could find out that like the vulnerable section are in terms of the marginalized section or some particular caste group, women, children. So largely all the provisions should reach to them. So for them, it is necessary that during the normal time, proper database and registration may be done. As I was discussing in the last slide, that recovery process lead to the process of preparedness. So when we are doing the recovery process, we should have, that lead to the preparedness, and we should initiate the process of developing proper database of segregated database, age or sex segregated database of each household, so that after disaster, access can be provided based on their specific nutrition requirement. So we can certainly advocate for that. Next slide. Similarly, we try to find out that for emergency and preparedness to response and recovery, what are the areas where we can advocate for. So health and FNS are two sector which complement and supplement each other. So these two sectors can converge in one goal. That was our, thought process. So and convergence can be done at Panchayati Raj level through village health and sanitation committee. That is one of the best practices in Andhra Pradesh. Also, we have noticed. Similarly, decentralized mechanism can be adopted to for the empowerment of communities by better connecting the national level target in the capability of state role during or after the disaster. So these are the largely areas I wanted to discuss. I need to take a call, Marubal. Just a second, it's an important call. Sorry, it was urgent to take that call. So now we have Mr. Kesav Koirala from Sikkim State Disaster Management Authority. Rubal Koirala sir has joined us.
Yes, Tanushri, he has.
Yeah. So Mr. Koirala is a training officer, disaster management specialist at the Sikkim State Disaster Management Authority and has been involved in preparation of DM plan, HRVA, hazard risk vulnerability assessment plan, DM training module, and he has been also deputed to UN agency for various role at city and state level. In addition to being a consultant to on disaster management for Training Institute and University in Sikkim. So I will now request Mr. Koyala to unmute himself, and he will be largely discussing on the status of food and nutrition sector preparedness for emergency response in Sikkim. Mr. Koyala.
Thank you so much, Tanushri. Good morning to my co-panelists, colleagues from SSDMA, from Sphere India, and the other attendees. Uh, Firstly, on behalf of Sikkim State Disaster Management Authority, I would like to express our gratitude to Sphere India for giving us a platform to share our experiences, as well as also learn from the experts in the field. As we all know that Sikkim State Disaster Management Authority, as as with the other state disaster management authority, is the nodal institution in the state for planning, coordination, and managing of disasters, and also for implementing the pre-disaster requisites for disaster risk reduction. We also lay down policies on disaster management for the state, give guidelines. Essentially, we handhold our stakeholding departments when it comes to disaster risk reduction and other aspects of disaster management. So likewise, we are mandated to follow the guidelines that are prescribed from time to time by National Disaster Management Authority for various sectors. So similarly, coming to today's topic, in 2017, the National Disaster Management Authority came out with a guidelines on minimum standards of relief. So the background for this was that the Disaster Management Act, Section 12, mandates the NDMA to recommend guidelines for minimum standards of relief to be provided to persons affected by disaster, which it says should include minimum requirements to be provided in the relief camps in relation to shelter, food, drinking water, medical cover, sanitation, and the likes. Also to provide special provisions for widows and orphans because they come under the most vulnerable sections. We in the guideline, it's also mentioned that ex gratia is to be given on account of loss of life and also on account of damage to houses and for restoration of means of livelihood. and any other relief that may be necessary, that the state deems necessary after disaster. So accordingly, Section 19 of the Act has mandated the state authorities to follow the guidelines in its letter and spirit. And in 2018, SSDMA has already formulated the guidelines and has shared the notification and the guidelines with the district authorities, because district authorities, as mandated by Disaster Management Act, are the nodal agencies when it comes to relief and rehabilitation. So I would just like to point out some of the things that's been mentioned in the guideline, which would be probably helpful for today's discussion. So it gives a largely a definition of what relief is and what a rehabilitation camp is supposed to be. And it also in a way gives some time period for the guidelines to be followed, because as we all know, after disaster, it is not immediately that the administrations can come and act. So it for the first few days, all of us are in a disarray. So in the guidelines, it's been mentioned that for the first 3 days, basic norms has to be followed. Next, in the fourth, from the fourth to the 10th day, efforts should be made to follow most of the norms recommended by NDMA in this guideline. And from the 11th day onward, all the norms has to be followed, right? Um, so it also gives the minimum standards in respect of shelter in relief camps, with where it mentions that necessary facilities like sufficient number of toilets, water supply generators with fuel for power backup should be ensured. Uh, that beforehand relief shelters and relief camps should be notified, like local schools or Anganwadi Anganwadi centers, large community halls, and so on and so forth. Uh, it also mandates that around 3.5 square meter covered area per person should be demarcated in the relief centers. Special care should be taken for safety and privacy of inmates, especially for women, widows, and children. It also says that relief centers is temporary, should be temporary in nature. It should not have a permanent infrastructure. And also sufficient number of sites, like I had already mentioned beforehand, should be demarcated as relief centers, and we've done that for most of the Gangtok urban areas, and the district authorities have likewise done it for their areas in most of the GPUs. Um, uh, it also mentions the minimum standards in respect of food in relief camps that should be provided. It says that milk and dairy products should be given to children and lactating mothers. Sufficient quantity of food should be made available to the affected people, especially for aged people and children. Sufficient steps should be taken to ensure hygiene at community and camp kitchens. Around 2,400 kilocalorie per day per day food per adult should be provided. For children, it is 1,700 kilocalorie per day. Sufficient in respect of water, minimum standards in respect of water. It says that sufficient quantity of water should be provided in relief camps for personal cleanliness and hand wash. It should be ensured that minimum supply of 3 liters per person should be provided per day for drinking for the affected people. And if there are if it's not possible to get clean water, then chlorination should be done in the water that is being provided to the relief camp inmates. Uh, uh, mm, and also in respect of sanitation, one toilet per 30 person should be arranged. Separate toilet and bath area, obviously for women and children, should be in place. Around 15 liters of water per person should be arranged for toilet and bathing purpose. So it's quite a comprehensive document that the guideline that NDMA has actually formulated. And it is, if any of you are interested, it's actually available in open platform in the website, and we at SSDMA would also be able to provide you with a copy of it. Likewise, there is also minimum standards in respect of medical cover, um, special standards for orphan and widows, uh, and then there are other necessary financial compensation that needs to be given, or other government assistance that needs to be arranged. Those guidelines has also been incorporated in the minimum standards of relief. Now, in the COVID situation, what we experienced was, since this was a special case in which a minimum requirement in terms of nutrition and food, as well as hygiene, had to be maintained. Therefore, MHA came up with a separate guideline in which uh, this minimum requirement was given, and the DCs, through their offices with the DCSOs and the other stakeholders, provided these, especially to the migrant laborers, and also some in some vulnerable localities where the essential commodities could not have reached otherwise. Uh, in the Sikkim earthquake, the guidelines was not, because Sikkim earthquake actually, uh, it happened in 2011. So this guideline came in 2018. So one of the experiences was that due to the bad road connectivity in the North District, we were not able to provide relief at at the very beginning. So keeping that in mind, the North District has already opened large storage facilities as of now to have essential commodities in place in case of disasters like that. Uh, Beyond that, maybe in the discussions that we have later on, maybe I can add some more if there are any questions after this. Thank you, Tanushree.
Thank you, Mr. Koraila, and largely making us aware of this minimum standard of relief guidelines of NDMA, which certainly I got to. I mean, I also get reminded that I have seen this document also, and the various provisions made in the minimum standard of relief of the NDMA for lactating mother, pregnant women, or children, and that how much nutrition or food supply need to be given to them adequately as per the government norm, and also clearly discussing about the role of SSDMA in relief and rehabilitation work, and especially in the COVID-19 pandemic. Now we have Dr. Siddharth Vagolekar from World Food Program, and I have listened Siddharth many times in various programs, and he is very well versed with food and nutrition requirement, especially with the minutely with the sector. And he is currently the deputy head of nutrition and school feeding unit with WFP, and working towards contributing and supporting the development of nutrition and project plan and processes, while also providing project management support to specific and defined nutrition project and activities in various states. So now I will request Siddharth to kindly unmute himself. Dr. Siddharth will largely talk upon food and nutrition security priorities in the Sikkim, and response and preparedness in times of COVID-19. Dr. Siddharth?
Sure. Thank you, Ms. Verma. So I just have a very brief presentation as well, and I'll actually thanks for placing Mr. Koirala before me, because his presentation built in very aptly into my discussion as well. So, I mean, taking on further from where Mr. Koirala left, I mean, he was talking about the basic standards, the minimum standards of relief. and especially in context of the food. So here is something which I'll also share in my presentation, which you will also find interesting. As to, because what I'm going to talk about is that when you talk specifically in terms of minimum standards in terms of food relief, uh, here are some guidance, or here is some guidance which is basically talking about food basket. So basically, what is the sort of when you say 2100 kilocalories, or say 1700 kilocalories for the children, so what is it that 2100 kilocalories should constitute of? So Mr. Koirala also mentioned about milk and milk products, but I think here what I'm going to present is also will give you an idea about the entire, like, say suppose if you want to do emergency nutrition or emergency food aid, so what is that food basket, how should it look like? And just configuring that to 2100 kilocalories is what I'll also show in my slides. So just to give you a brief background about what I'll be sharing you, this guidance is basically for the state of Sikkim. What we have done is we have customized the food basket, as in whatever is the preferred food item, whatever is the preferred uh, taste and preferences of people in there. So we have tried to build in some of these activities. And likewise, we have also customized for different age groups. Uh, like in case of if you are having different members of the family, so you will be able to provide to them as well, and accordingly cater to those needs. Uh, and in the food basket that I've included, so when you say 2100 kilocalories, so in this 2100 kilocalories, we have included cereals and millets, pulses, oils, sugar, and salt as basically the composition of the food basket. As I earlier said that, you will be able to cater to different households, you will be able to cater to different people, men, women. So, I mean, that is something which you will be able to do through the food basket guideline. And whenever you are giving food aid, or whenever there is whenever you're planning such a food aid activity, especially in an emergency, you should always look at whatever is being given through the existing food safety net of Government of India, which is basically TPDS, ICDS, or MDM. So you should always take care that you do not repeat the efforts, or you do not duplicate the resources, because resources are very useful in case of an emergency, and it is best that you give optimal, or you get the best out of every resource. So that is why you should always look at some of these schemes which are already existing from the Government of India. Just a rider that in the food basket that I have developed, or these guidelines which are there. So in this, you will not find milk or milk products, roots and tubers, green leafy vegetables, or other vegetables. Basically, the reason being that whenever you're planning for an emergency, number one, you will also have to look at supply, whether some of these food items are available or not, and how easily are they available. Number one. Secondly, even if they are available, how long will they last? Because you never know that you reach a vulnerable population, you go to a difficult area, you provide them food, but how long will that food last to them, or how long will you be able to again reach back to them? So that is why it's better that you provide foods which are not perishable. I mean, which do not go bad as easily, or they do not get spoiled as easily. So that is why some of these items which I've mentioned, that they have not included, like milk and milk products, roots and tubers, green leafy vegetables also. And as a result of which, you will see that there are some vitamins and minerals which are not provided through the food basket. But you can always compensate for that by using fortified food products. You have fortified rice, you have fortified wheat flour, you have salt, you have oil, you have fortified milk, which is also given in the available in the market. So some of these food items you can use. So just coming to my calculations and how I have done it, and you may also refer to the same as well, is basically in Sikkim, the average household size is 5 members per household. So for 5 members, basically, there is a certain requirement of nutrition which is there for every month. I will show those calculations. To make those calculations, I have made certain assumptions, that I have taken certain sample households. So like in sample household, you will see there is a husband, there is wife, elderly father, elderly mother, and infant, 6 to 12 months. Likewise, in sample household 2, you have husband, pregnant wife, child, 3 children across the different age groups, 18 months, 4 to 6 years, and 7 to 9 years. And likewise, in household 3, you will have husband, wife, elderly father, elderly mother, and a child. So these are the sample households I have used. Of course, there will be different households in your state as well, but this is just for reference and calculation. And you can also do calculations as per the sample households which are there in your area. Um, so if I look at the nutrition requirements of some of these sample households, so if you look at sample household 1, the recommended dietary intake. Now you have the National Institute of Nutrition, which has come up with the recommended dietary intake guidance for each of the Indian, which is applicable for each of the Indians. So for sample household 1, your total requirement of cereals, pulses, sugars, and oil is highlighted in yellow. The cereals is about 47.25 kilograms per month. Same pulses is around 10 kilograms per month, sugars 3.9, and oil 3.9 kilograms per month. And same for household 2 and household 3, you will see the calculations here. Now the food basket which I have included, as I said earlier, that I have taken 5 items: cereals and cereals and millets, or pulses, oil, sugar, and salt. So under cereals, I have taken both rice as well as wheat. In the state of Sikkim, so these were coming out as the most preferred item. So rice is the #1 preferred cereal. Second is wheat. So rice I have taken 70% and 30% is wheat. Masoor, lentil. Masoor is again the preferred pulses in Sikkim, and mustard oil is also the preferred oil for cooking. So I've included these. The nutrition value is given here in the table, but I'll show you what is the nutrition provided by these items in your daily or your monthly calculations. So if I look at sample household 1, your monthly requirement is basically 308,000. Energy requirement is 308,000 kilocalories. Out of this, the food basket is providing about 73% of your energy requirements. Likewise, if you see for protein, fat, calcium, iron, so protein is 86%, fat is around 104%. So mind you, these are all monthly requirements. So if monthly requirement of 86% is met, 100% of your fat requirement is met, calcium about 12% is met, iron 59% is met, vitamin A is very less, B1 is 68%, likewise B2 is 28%, and so on and so forth. If you see, magnesium and zinc are also provided to a great extent. So this is somehow the nutrition that is provided by the food basket, say for sample household 1, the calculations for sample household 1. Likewise, if you see for sample household 2 and sample household 3, these are also providing about good number of energy, proteins, and fats, and also other vitamins and minerals. Now here again, as I said earlier, we have not included some of the food items like milk and milk products, or even your fresh fruits and green leafy vegetables. That is why you would see that some of the vitamins and minerals are not reflected here, or they are not counted, or they do not come up great in the food basket. Coming to the second option, which is basically coming to the household individuals. So in case some of the households do not fit the structure which I have shown, like five-member household that I've shown, like in some households there may be 3 members, there may be 2 members, or there may be 7 members. So how do you adjust the food basket to that household? So here are some values which I have given for each individual type, each individual member. There is an infant 6 to 12 months, 1 to 3-year-old child, 4 to 6-year-old child, 7 to 9-year-old child. So you can also, depending on which age group your beneficiary is fitting into, so accordingly you can provide the quantity of food basket. Like you can see monthly food basket of cereals. So for cereal, 450 grams is what is required for infant 6 to 12 months. For pulses, it is 225 grams. For sugars, it's 300 grams. For fats and oils, it is 600 grams. So this is how you can actually also use it for the other age groups as well. For 1 to 3-year-old children, for 4 to 6-year, any group that your beneficiary is belonging to. In the back bracket or in the box, you will see what is the amount of energy, what is the amount of protein which is provided. You will also see what is the amount of fat which is provided, what is the amount of vitamins which are provided. And you would see a good number of your energy, protein, and fat requirement is provided by the food basket. To good extent, some of the vitamins and minerals are also provided. In this slide, you will also see the different age groups that I'm talking about: 10 to 20, 10 to 12-year-old boy or girl, 13 to 15-year-old boy or girls. Likewise, you will also see 16 to 17-year-old boys and girls, and adult man, adult women, pregnant women, and lactating women. So these are the different age groups and different beneficiaries of vulnerable people. So I mean, you can adjust your food basket as per the calculations which I have given here. And I am sure this tool will be very useful for NGOs, community-based organizations who are present in the field. In case of any emergency, if you want to respond quickly, in case if there is a need for food aid, definitely you could look at some of these guidances and then, I mean, adopt some of these. I would specifically like to seek feedback from all of you in case you want me to include different food items which are locally consumed in Sikkim, and you feel that this will be more acceptable. So please do let me know. But do keep in mind that I want to have food items which will be readily available and which can sustain a good amount of period as well. So with that, I would like to end my slides here and over to you in case if there is any feedback. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Siddharth. Sorry, I was just trying to unmute myself. Thank you. And Siddharth, I have heard you earlier also for Bihar and Rajasthan, and I really appreciate the fact that you come with a specific food basket to specific to state what is locally available. That's what I was talking about. That we need to come up with the local solution in terms of the food basket. And thank you for sharing the Sikkim state specific food basket, and also you indicated about the National Institute of Nutrition, who has recommended dietary program or for the food and nutrition supply processes. So I think this slide will be very helpful for the Sikkim State Disaster Management Authority also, in terms of the tools you have shared with them. And if we can have access to your this thing PPT, we will share it further to the Sikkim State Disaster Management Authority. We have with us now Ma'am Rohini Pradhan, Joint Secretary, Food and Civil Supply Department for the Government of Sikkim. And she will be largely discussing on the awareness on ONORC. This is One Nation, One Ration Card project of migrant worker. And I think we are also part of this and we are implementing it through Food Program. This one program, Government of India initiated largely after as a one learning of COVID-19 pandemic also, that wherever migrants go, they have one ration card which can be applicable to anywhere in the country. So this is a flagship program of Government of India, and WFP is also supporting a lot in the process of implementation of this program in various states. And we have initiated some awareness program also in some of the 7 states of India. So, Madam Rohini, I will now request you to kindly unmute yourself and go ahead with your talk, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Rohini Pradhan, presently posted as Joint Secretary in the Food and Civil Supplies Department, Government of Sikkim. And today I'll be speaking on the topic of One Nation, One Ration Card program of the Government of India, which is being implemented now pan-India for the food security of migrant laborers. So firstly, this is a very beautiful and much needed program, I should say, which is a technological solution which has been brought about by the Government of India for migrant laborers. And under this program, the beneficiaries under PDS, they can avail of their the food grains under PDS from any part of the country or within the state. I mean, at present, the system is, as everybody knows, a beneficiary under PDS for availing food grains as per allocation. They have to go and take their allocation from a designated fair price shop, that is FPS, in their locality. This is a local benefit as of now. But with this one nation, one ration card system, a beneficiary can avail of his or her allocation of food grains under public distribution system from any part of the country or within the state. Say for example, there in a household there are like 5 members, and if the father of the house or the mother of the house has to leave the household and the local area and to go to a different state, or say for example a different district for livelihood, then that person would be able to avail of his food grains under PDS from any of the fair price shops under one nation, one ration card. And the best part is the whole family need not shift to the new fair price shop. If only 2 members of the family are traveling, or only 1 member of the family is away from the household, then that member can avail of the food security from
Ma'am, you've gone on mute.
Yeah, sorry, my network is really bad here today. And the technological part, this portability, ration card portability is made available by the IMPDS portal. For that is the integrated management of PDS portal, provides technological platform for interstate portability of ration cards across the country, and the Anna Vitaran portal hosts data for distribution of food grains through EPOS within the state. And the COVID has taught us a lot of lessons, as my other fellow participants were also telling about. So I'd like to just inform that because of the COVID pandemic, the state government
Ma'am, you are going on mute.
yeah, I don't know what is happening. Yeah,
Now we
during
can
the,
listen you. Now we can
pandemic-
listen.
Yes, you can hear me now? Yes,
Yeah.
during the pandemic, the state government came up with this Chief Minister's Relief Package, wherein the state government announced food dry ration for and onions, depending on the members of the
Ma'am, we are not able to listen you properly.
okay, now okay.
Now I can hear you. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, and I think my network will not allow me to speak for long. So I just wanted to, highlight that whenever we are planning for food security, I think it is most important for us as people who have some role to play in it, to ensure food security for people who are outside of the loop. What I mean to say from outside of the loop is like, during this pandemic, COVID pandemic also, what we experienced was that there were schemes, programs available for beneficiaries who were under some sort of scheme already, under PDS, under AAY, PHH, OPHH. But there were a section of the, the population who are not covered under any of the schemes. And we felt as a department implementing the schemes that if there would have been a program or a scheme wherein these people could also be brought inside of the loop of the food security, it would have been great. So this is just one experience that I am sharing with you all.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Please be there because now I think with this we are at the end of the discussion, and you largely emphasize on ONORC, which is really good because this is one new scheme which came up after, especially in view of the learning we had after COVID-19
Yes,
pandemic,
and
and yeah, ma'am.
yeah, the Sikkim had actually onboarded. We were already like a part of the system,
Mm-hmm.
national portability under ONORC since June last year only. But
Mm-hmm.
because of some reasons, EPOS is not functioning in the state. But very shortly, we will be once again
Mm-hmm.
implementing this ONORC in the state.
Correct, correct, ma'am. So, and this is also one of the important, agenda of Prime Minister on disaster risk reduction, which he declared immediately after ASEAN Ministerial Conference on DRR in 2016, that we should learn from our past experiences, and we should try to enhance our preparedness for the future. So this ONORC certainly came up as that solution to the migrant labor. And you rightly pointed out, ma'am, we need to think upon those who are not covered under any scheme. So
Yes.
those people, those vulnerable section of society who have not covered under any scheme, they need to be captured through all these processes, so that the basic food supply, nutrition supply, or access to medicines should reach out to those unreached people. So we have Mr. Gurung also from IAG. However, he is present there. He is also on board, and we have a very good panelist. Since morning, we are listening to everyone. We have Mr. Koirala from SSDMA, Dr. Siddharth from WFP, and you, Rohini, ma'am. So now I open the session for any discussion among ourselves itself, or any questions and answer with each other. We can certainly go ahead for that. You can raise your hand, and we can unmute you for queries.
जुलाई अगस्त छैन के भन्यो
जुलाईको चलन छैन सर चलनमा छैन
यस्तो हेर्नु डल्लै छैन
चलन छैन सर जुलाई किन जुलाईको बदले अगस्तमा आउँथ्यो
DCSO North, you want to say something?
चलन नि सर
Any questions we have, or somebody want to discuss anything further on food and nutrition safety specific to Sikkim state?
सर नमस्कार
So I feel with this now we are at the end of our session, and I find it a very enriching session in terms of discussion, especially we had for Sikkim state on food and nutrition safety. So, so I feel that there is a need for further collaboration on the issue, and especially in view of the response to the COVID-19 food and nutrition emergencies. So Sphere India, with this community footprint and other network capacity, may take it and plan further that how to go ahead for ensuring FNS in Sikkim state. And we also want to come up with a working group on food and nutrition security, as we are trying to have it in various state also. In some state we have come up with a WAS sector committee to discuss and plan further on WAS related sector. Similarly, if agreed with all, can we move ahead with some committee at state level with SSDMA representation, IAG representation on food and nutrition security. Madam Rohini is also there, so that we can take the agenda of FNS further. Whatever collaboration, advocacy is needed vertically or down. Sphere India is available to support on that part.
खै पञ्चायतबाट के आउँदैन भने ग्राम सभामा गरेर दिन्छु भने
I think DCSO need to mute himself. Yeah. Any call on that? Can we go ahead of creation of a working group or some committee on food and nutrition security at state level? A platform can be created for that. So, no, so we'll take up with, individually with SSDMA and IAG if required. So with these, now we came to end of the program, and I will now request Rubal, who is the main coordinating person in Sikkim, and she certainly supported Sphere India a lot in the coordination of the program, to give vote of thanks to our honorable panelist. Rubal.
Certainly. Thank you, Tanushree. I would like to extend a very, very warm gratitude from the entire Sphere India team to all the panelists who were present here with us today. Thank you so much to Mrs. Shubha Mukhia, who was able to join us though remotely, and to Ms. Navita Pradhan, the Deputy Secretary at Sikkim SDMA. Thank you so much, Mr. Keshav Koirala, for joining us and representing the Sikkim SDMA and sharing your very valuable insights with the whole in the whole discussion. Though Dr. Siddharth Vakulkar from a World Food Program has left the meeting, he had another meeting to attend. We sincerely thank him for his time and for sharing a very diligently prepared presentation and the whole design of food baskets for the state of Sikkim with us. It was very enlightening indeed. I would also like to extend our gratitude to Mr. Hiren Gurung, the General Secretary of Sikkim Helping Hands, the IAG for Sikkim, though he could not speak with us during this meeting because he is in a remote location. Thank you for staying with us throughout the meeting and for your constant support, sir. We hope we can extend more discussions on the topic of food and nutrition security sector and the other sectors as well, so as to strengthen the response for during emergency situations in the state of Sikkim. I would also like to thank Ms. Rohini Pradhan, the Joint Secretary from Food and Civil Supplies Department, Government of Sikkim, for having joined us even in spite of a lot of technical difficulties at her end. Thank you for making it to the meeting and for enlightening us about sharing, sort of making us more aware on the subject of One Nation, One Ration Card for the migrant workers, and for sharing your insights on how we need to include the people who are most often left out of the loop and how ONORC is the need of the hour. Thank you so much. Lastly, I would, last but not the least, I would like to thank Ms. Tanushree Verma from Sphere India team for her very active support and thorough guidance in order to successfully plan this FNS consultation meeting in the state of Sikkim. Most of all, I would like to thank the participants who were able to join us. I understand there's a lot of network issues in the state of Sikkim, but to be able to give your time and attention to this subject and for supporting Sphere India and the state of Sikkim, the government departments, in an endeavor to enhance the response, the emergency response in the state, especially during disasters. We really appreciate your support and your time. Please continue to support us. We will have more consultation meetings for different sectors so as to strengthen the emergency response in the state of Sikkim. Thank you so much, everyone. If you have any questions, any concerns regarding this meeting that is held and organized by Sphere India, please do reach out to us. So you can go to our websites. You can mail me as well. I'm sharing my email ID in the chat box. Please feel free to drop a mail in case you have any concerns or queries. That would be all from us. Let us bring this meeting to a close.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.